Well, I'm now joined by political commentator Jason Unruhe to discuss that story further. Jason, it's good to talk to you. So what are your initial thoughts on any possible return to full compliance with the terms of the JCPOA?
Well, my initial thoughts are that this is not going to be a very positive or rewarding experience. Iran has made it very clear that the United States must remove all of the unjust sanctions that were placed on it under the Trump administration under the pretext of a phony allegation of having violated the agreement. Those sanctions violated the agreement to begin with. And Iran says that they will be in full compliance if those sanctions are to be removed. However, I'm not very hopeful that the United States will do this. I think that the Biden administration will continue this maximum pressure campaign under a new guise. For example, while Donald Trump claimed that Iran had violated the agreement, I think the Biden administration will continue with the same wrongdoing that Trump did, but he'll do it under the auspices of claiming that Iran is not willing to cooperate when the United States is the one at fault here for violating the agreement. I think that this meeting between the two sides will probably be very quick if both of them stick to their guns. Both of them have a very sharp line in the sand on both sides, and one is neither going to cross the other. But unless there's some kind of negotiation between the two, which Iran says that it's not willing to, it already has a very reasonable position to put up. Looks like this is going to be a very quick and maybe a hostile agreement. The fact is that the United States, the main goal, JCPOA or not, is entirely to destabilize Iran and install a puppet government. The whole point of the sanctions to begin with, the creation of the JCPOA, was to undermine Iranian ability to develop its economy and military technology, particularly in terms of missile technology. There never was a nuclear program, a nuclear weapons program to begin with. However, as we saw with much of the time spent in the JCPOA, that did not hinder Iran's ability to develop to any significant degree, and everything had been going very well. And both, culturally, economically, politically, things were going in a very positive direction. This is why I believe that Trump went along with the lie in order to justify pulling out of the JCPOA in order to try to renegotiate a deal to put even harsher measures in place against Iran in order to foment that undermining of society, because the original ones were not working. And thus we see Biden right now continuing that same pattern under a new banner and a new excuse.
And Jason, what is the role that other signatories to the deal, especially the EU, can play in convincing the U.S. to remove all of the sanctions and revive the deal?
I think that the Europeans could perhaps help tilt the United States towards playing fairly and doing what it is that they said they were going to do. But in my opinion, the European allies have been largely absent from this entire process. They bear responsibilities for making compensations to Iran for the lack of the U.S. as of the U.S. sanctions pulling out of the deal. A lot of some of what was lost is supposed to be made up by the Europeans, but the Europeans have done it in a very half-hearted manner. They've not really tried, hoping that the United States would just stop and come back, or maybe hoping that the next administration, that being the Biden administration, would simply return to what is generally perceived as the status quo in terms of U.S. foreign policy and the pressure campaigns that they place on many countries. However, this seems not to be the case here, and the Europeans are missing in action and don't seem to be really willing to put out any effort on this agreement whatsoever.
Thank you so much, Jason. That was Jason Unruhe, a political commentator, joining us out of Ontario, Canada.